Hello there, and welcome to episode 19 of the Banter Podcast. Normally around about this time of year, we're recording from a caravan because we always go away somewhere exotic to watch Eurovision in, but sadly, because circumstances, that hasn't been possible this year. However, that doesn't stop this episode from being special, because A, we are recording in a tent.
We found a tent on a clear out, as we all have been doing, you know. People's cupboards have never been tidier. And it's not my tent, it's not your tent. We asked around, no one knows whose fucking tent it is, so we've claimed it as our own, and we decided that to mark it as our territory, we hotbox the shit out of it sometimes. And then we needed an excuse to do a podcast in the tent, so why the fuck not now?
Yeah, so expect some random noises in the background, fences clattering, wildlife. It's quite windy today, actually, so enjoy that. It's also extra special because I finally watched the Blood Eagle episode of Vikings!
Hooray!
Let's celebrate with some bubbly. Fuck. Hang on. Oh, shit. Would you like some bubbly, Claire?
Absolutely, I would love some bubbly. A little bit of bubbly.
Nice one on the strawberries. It's a beautiful touch.
Brings a sense of class to the occasion. Yeah, we'll take a picture of our setup, and so you, dear listeners, can get a visual of the fuckery that's happening in here right now.
Anyway, here's to 19 episodes, and more importantly to me, for finally watching the Blood Eagle episode of Vikings.
So, do tell.
Well, when we did the last podcast, I'd already watched the scene itself.
Yes.
So I kind of went into it semi-prepared. But the minute I clicked play, I instantly got high on the theme tune. I was like, oh my god, why have I left this so long?
The music's very, very good.
And then it was just like plain sailing through calm seas. It was a really, really good episode. Haven't watched another one since. So next year we'll do all this again when I watch episode 9 of season 2 still.
Yes, I remember from the last podcast we had things that we both wanted to see during our time. How are you with that? Do you, what was it that you were trying to watch?
I've done some of it. Okay.
Alright, so the Blood Eagle episode is a tick.
That is a
one.
tick, yes. I said I was going to at least start the one marathon to rule them all.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings, Hobbits.
Not started that, but I've compromised by playing a lot of Lord of the Rings online.
Okay, you can have a half point.
Half a point for
Alright.
that. Haven't seen Pulp Fiction. Well, okay, haven't re-watched Pulp Fiction for the millionth time. I did play and complete Journey.
Oh, well done. That was on the list.
I haven't yet seen Pineapple Express, but I watched Mac and Devon go to high school with you, so I think I get a half point for that.
I disagree because Mac and Devon was one of mine to watch.
Oh.
So, I get a tick for that. I'd say we'll put a pin in Pineapple Express.
Fair enough.
Maybe next weekend.
I have watched all of Tiger King, including the special hosted by Joe McHale.
Yes, interesting special that as well, which shed some light on some things that we hadn't seen previously. I do want to come back to Joe Exotic, because I do have some news there. In terms of things that I was meant to watch, Better Call Saul, I have started that. I am now dick deep into Series 3. I found out that I am on Series 3. I thought I was a little bit further ahead than that, but not to worry, we have time. So I'm going to say that's a tick, because, you know. Blade Runner, I made an attempt, but it wasn't on Netflix, Amazon Prime, or anywhere else free that I could get it. So I was like, well, I'll get to that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm putting a pin in that one as well, because as much as I want to watch Blade Runner, I also don't want to have to pay to watch it, because it's such an old fucking film now. And the other one was The Gentleman, which you tasked me with watching, and you were the reason why I was able to watch it too, because you got the Blu-ray.
Which is unfucking precedented for me to buy a Blu-ray.
I can't remember the last time we bought a solid version of anything like that, because CDs aren't a thing anymore. DVDs aren't a thing anymore. Games for the PS and that, they're all online.
Genuinely can't remember the last time I bought a Blu-ray or a CD or anything like that wasn't a gift for someone else.
Yeah, although there are definitely still people that like a hard copy.
Yes, I can. It was Dodgeball last year. The Blu-ray was cheaper than buying it online. As in, buying a digital copy.
That's bizarre, isn't it?
It's bizarre.
I have been told to watch Mystery Science Theatre 3000, though. I haven't been told very much about it, I've just been told to watch it. So I'll leave the mystery with both you and the viewers. I will let you know what develops there. I don't think it's new. I think it's like an old cult classic type. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think it's a series. I'm very hazy on these details. That's going onto the list for me.
Okay.
I'll let you guys know next podcast. Whenever the fuck that may be.
Anyway, you said that you had Joe Exotic news.
I do have Joe Exotic news. Well, I have Tiger King news. It's less to do with Joe Exotic, although this part does. Joe Exotic has become the face of a new streetwear collection.
I'm not even slightly surprised.
I'm hoping that it's all tiger print. He's partnered with fusion label owner Odane Watson for the brand O Dangerous, as in Odin and Dangerous.
It's genius.
It's hard to say on first arrival. Anyway, he's organised all this from jail, the cunning fuck. It's called Revenge Collection, and it features Joe's face and references to the Netflix show. So Joe's cashing in on this, even from prison.
It's his lockdown to-do list.
Yes, to be fair, yeah. James Garretson, the guy who went off on the jet ski at the end of the season.
Yes, that meme.
Yes, that meme. He was on Talk with Jericho the other day, and he even participated in the Bubbly Bunch Flim Flam.
He did.
Which was interesting. So Jericho is fully jumping on the Joe Exotic train. Better than all this news, Nicolas Cage to play Joe Exotic in an upcoming 8-episode scripted series, Joe Exotic, A Dark Journey into the World of a Man Gone Wild.
Perfect. Because there were rumours circling that it was going to be Orlando Bloom for a little while, wasn't it, to play him next. But I was like, Nicolas Cage is a much better choice.
He is, just from who Nicolas Cage is as a person. It's different to the scripted series that Kate McKinnon is attached to. She's in the Ghostbusters remake. She's one of the Ghostbusters. Where she'll star as Carol Baskin. So apparently there's a Carol Baskin spin-off and there's a Joe Exotic spin-off in the midst. So, you know, they are stuffed to the brim with Tiger King content.
I really enjoyed Tiger King. A bit late to the table with it, but it was so compelling. The first episode is a bit...
It's a lot of character building.
Yes, but then after that, it just goes completely supersonic, just adds layers and layers and layers of narrative, and you could easily double the length of that first season, and I don't think any of the storyline would wear thin, because it's just so packed.
I feel like we are tip of the iceberg with everything that has gone down.
You can definitely tell it's been edited in a certain way to portray...
Yes, you definitely are influenced by the edit.
But that kind of comes with the territory of that kind of thing. It's fucking ruthless.
Yeah, all of it is fucked. But yes, I'm pumped for more Tiger King content. I'm definitely going to watch this Nicolas Cage series, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. On the last podcast, we bet a crate on the winner of Khabib Ferguson, which obviously didn't happen because Khabib.
Essentially, we picked our top 4 fights that we wanted to weigh in on, and whoever got the most predictions correct gets the crate.
The first fight that we had was Carla Esparza versus Michelle Waterson. I had Esparza winning by unanimous decision.
I also had Esparza with unanimous decision.
She did win, so we get a tick for that, but it was by split decision. That's a draw. Donald Cerrone versus Anthony Pettis. I had Pettis TKOing Cowboy in round 1.
I had Pettis second round knockout.
Pettis did win by unanimous decision, but I will let you have it because you were around closer than I was.
Alright, okay. I'll have a half point for that.
Okay,
I'll take a half.
Yes, Henry Cejudo versus Dominic Cruz. I had Cruz by unanimous decision. That was for the bantamweight world title, so a 5-rounder.
I had Cruz 4th round submission for that, so I was way off.
So was I. We both were. Cejudo won by TKO in round 2. And for the Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje fight, that's for the interim lightweight title. Winner gets Khabib. Yeah, we were both way off with this one.
Shooketh to the core.
I had Ferguson by doctor stoppage in round 3.
I had Ferguson 3rd round as well, but KO. And Gaethje just fucking...
took him apart.
He did.
It was sad to watch, to be honest.
I said to you even on the night, didn't I? Ferguson doesn't look himself.
It's because he'd been doing a training camp since November.
15-week training camp.
And made weight twice within 3 weeks. That's
crazy.
Like, without any of his traditional team with him. He did it on his own. That's just insane.
Yeah. Even Dana White commented saying that it didn't feel like the Tony Ferguson that we all know. Alright, for a possible 4 points total, I have 1.5 points.
I have half a point.
Hey! Fucking...
Thank you, Carla, for my half a point.
Cash in that crate. Pettis and Esparza. If you would like to share it with me, I'll be happy to extend the
They
olive
are avid
branch
listeners to this podcast.
I'm sure they both are. Yeah.
They are. That's a fact.
And that neatly brings us to the reason why we're actually doing this podcast. We were scratching around for any excuse to do a podcast in the tent, and Lorna, as I mentioned earlier, she featured on episode 17? 17.
It was the first podcast of the year.
She came up with some questions, which we've kind of expanded on as well. First one, most memorable scene from a film.
There's so many to choose from.
It's a good question, isn't it? Because it's one of those where sometimes a scene really sticks in your head.
Yeah. What I did put was the President's speech in Independence Day. That Bill Pullman scene, so powerful. Love it. Goosebumps every time. Mufasa's death scene in Lion King.
Yes.
Most of Heath Ledger's scenes in The Dark Knight. Have you seen John Wick 3 yet?
No.
Okay, there's a scene right at the beginning of the movie where he's fighting in this corridor that's full of cabinets that are completely stacked with different sorts of knives and machetes, and there's like a few baddies that are going at him, and it's just disgusting.
Yeah, I bet that's savage.
The sound, oh my god. Yeah, that was probably the best action sequence I've ever seen to date, actually. And lastly, the Ezekiel 25:17 scene from Pulp Fiction.
Interestingly, one of mine is from Pulp Fiction as well. But it's the scene where Uma Thurman has OD'd and John Travolta has to ram a needle into her heart.
I've just replayed the impact that syringe makes into her chest. I can hear it so perfectly.
You can feel it in your heart, can't you? Oh god, the impact. My second scene is the Aristocats, Everybody Wants to Be a Cat jazz party scene. I find that motivational.
And all they're being sassy and just swaying their assholes at you.
Absolutely, as cats so often do when playing the cello. Question number 2. A film or series that has changed your opinion?
So I abandoned the idea of answering it almost entirely to tell you about a film that's not necessarily changed my opinion, but kind of give perspective. It's called The Platform. It was released last year. It is a Spanish science fiction horror thriller. It's set in a massive tower. Oh yes, I would love more bubbly, thank you.
You did look like you needed a top-up.
So, platform, very tough, full of food. Now, I don't know if there's a time limit or you go until you can't eat anymore, but the platform is lowered and the people on the level beneath get your leftovers. They have their fill. The platform gets lowered again, so on and so forth.
Okay.
I've seen a couple of the trailers. It looks like it is packed with political allegory and subliminal messages. Can't wait to watch it, actually. I might even put it on my lockdown list.
Ooh, it's going on the list. So I guess so you're kind of hoping that will enlighten some kind of opinion for you.
Expand my opinion, alter it slightly, maybe even change it entirely, or just and I'm also just genuinely looking forward to the film.
For me, it was Homeland. Homeland and House of Cards, respectively. It changed my opinion about the way that politics is played, I guess is the oddly right word for it. It kind of made me see that what we as regular people get to see is probably about 5 steps from the truth.
Yes.
And whatever it is that has happened has some kind of self-promoting agenda behind it for some kind of person of power and influence.
Yeah.
Made me more critical and more analytical of the content that I am given by certain outputs.
Edited for perception.
Yes, very that. And I feel like I've benefited from it.
So you'd recommend?
Season 6, the very last season of Homeland, has just finished. Claire Danes and Mandy Patinkin were both phenomenal in that series. It was brilliant. Every single season was a winner, and in their own right was very, very good. I find that when things go on for at least this amount of seasons, you've got 1 or 2 that aren't that strong. There's favourite seasons or there's ones that were kind of tanked. In Homeland there isn't. But I must say that it is, in places, a struggle to watch because it really is emotionally and politically charged. You have to give it headspace, is what I'm saying. It's not one of those that you can just sit and just...
It's not one of those ones you come in from a heavy night out and you just whack it on for a laugh. It's not like that. Yeah,
like Sunday afternoon programming. No. This is not for you.
It's no American Dad.
It's American sad. Oh. Yeah, brings me on to my next question. Best soundtrack.
I had quite a few for this. I dedicated much more thought into this question than the previous one.
We are all thrilled.
You're very welcome. A few of the most memorable soundtracks for me The High Society musical score.
Ooh.
Really, really good. I mean, that film was released like 32 years before I was even born. And the music is like iconic and will last forever. Bing Crosby, Grace Kelly, Sinatra, Louis Armstrong. And such catchy songs that you've definitely heard before but may not have seen the film.
Yes.
Like the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Like that's from it. South Park, Bigger, Longer and Uncut. Where like Trey Parker and Matt Stone contribute to pretty much every single song on that soundtrack. Their throats were made of pure gold when making that movie. It's received many accolades. The Tolkien soundtrack more recently, I don't know, I just really, really liked it. Not because obviously I have a hard-on for Tolkien, but it was genuinely really good. No, not only because I have a hard-on for Tolkien.
I see.
The music was just really, really beautiful. Made by Thomas Newman. It reminded me of the American Beauty soundtrack in places. And
yes, also another.
I was like, it was Thomas Newman. That makes sense because he also did the score for that film. He also did Shawshank Redemption and the 1917 soundtrack, which are both very, very awesome albums. Pretty much anything by Hans Zimmer or John Williams.
Yes.
The Vikings soundtrack.
Yes, very strong.
Predominantly performed by Trevor Morris, but there are various other pagan artists, including Wardrunner, which their music, coincidentally enough, was playing during the Blood Eagle scene.
Yay.
Yes. Cheers to me for watching that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I tend to agree with pretty much everything that you said there, which is rare for me.
That's your generous way of saying I wasn't listening.
I only have two more to add to that, and that's Guardians of the Galaxy. Very popular, but also well put together.
Marvel is very good at implementing classic rock into their films.
Yes, we enjoy that. My other one is from the Coen brothers, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? You know, the one that George Clooney was in?
Yes.
Very, very good soundtrack. It was absolutely brilliant and perfect for the film. Best hair and makeup.
This is probably my favourite question of all of them,
for
some reason, because basically the hair and makeup artists, I imagine, are very kind of like overlooked in film production.
They do have their own category in the award system, but yes, I'd say they probably often are, because you don't get to hear about them as much as the actors.
Yes, but there is a kind of like two-edged sword to that, because if a performance is particularly terrible, let's say the Jared Leto's idea of what the Joker should be like, everyone just throws all the shade, including myself, at just his performance.
Yeah.
But people forget that somebody wrote those lines for him, somebody designed that outfit, somebody designed his makeup. So he can only probably realistically be responsible for, let's say, half of it, which is a lot anyway. It's like you could throw 5% of the blame at whoever wrote his lines, another 5% at the blame at the dickhead who thought that attire would work. Let's say 15% of the blame for the twat that gave him those tattoos. If I know.
I'd say that deserves more than 15%.
Hair and makeup, you were saying. Sorry, would you like to go first?
Sure, yeah. I only put one down for this because it just stands out for me particularly. And not to ram another inch of my dick up the arsehole that is the Viking season.
But you've got inches to spare, haven't you?
I have yards of dick to spare for Vikings, to the hilt. They have had 5 Makeup Artist and Hairstylist Guild Award nominations. At no point have they won any of these, and I feel like that is an absolute fucking shame.
That is a shame.
They've been nominated for an Emmy for the same thing. The hair, the braiding, the intricacy, how accurate it is. The hair is done beautifully, to the point where now everyone wants a fucking Vikings haircut.
Yeah, I've tried once or twice to get my hair like that, and it just looks not good. Okay, yes, her hair and makeup. Well, Darkest Hour, like turning Gary Oldman into Winston Churchill, was truly an astounding feat. You couldn't tell it was him. I could have a million guesses and I would be wrong a million times. It was obviously recognised across the board. It won Best Hair and Makeup at the 2018 Oscars. And then, coincidentally enough, the year after that, Christian Bale, made up as Dick Cheney, won the Best Hair and Makeup at the 2019 Oscars, but it felt like it was kind of like a poor man's Darkest Hour. It was still impressive, but it was kind of like, that
Not
was
as
done
good.
last year, and the reason you're holding that trophy is because of Darkest Hour. That's at least what the vibe gave to me.
Yeah, like it piggybacked on previous success.
Robin Williams as Mrs. Doubtfire.
Fucking classic. The pie in the face. Oh my god. Imagine being the makeup person that has put that together. Hours it must have taken to get into that, just to ram it all into a pie.
Have you seen the film Tropic Thunder? Obviously, remember when Robert Downey Jr. blackfaced for it?
I have not seen Tropic Thunder.
Jack Black, Robert Downey Jr.
Put it on the list.
I won't spoil it for you then. Put it on the list. There is a character called Les Grossman in it who plays this movie star agent. And at the end of it, I just thought he was a random unknown actor. And at the credits, they obviously do the freeze frame and they say who plays it. And I was genuinely shocked.
Shook? Who? Oh, you can't reveal?
I can't reveal it to you because you need to watch it. People listening are almost
Spoilers!
certainly going to know who I'm on about.
They're probably swearing at me for not knowing this reference.
You still can't tell, and you would never have guessed it, ever.
Oh, I'm very intrigued.
There would have been more chance of me guessing that Gary Oldman was in the Churchill outfit. Have you seen a film called Cloud Atlas? I've so nearly watched it many times. The film tells 6 different stories set in 6 different time periods. Mm-hmm. Okay. All of the actors in it are involved in every story in some form or another. But in every single bit of narrative, they're either playing a different gender, a different race, or a completely different age group.
Okay, yeah, and obviously character archetypes vary too, I'm assuming, amongst that thread. That's very interesting. That's basically what American Horror Story do.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued, actually. Intrigued enough to put it as a pencil onto the list. Not pen, I'm not committing. I have one more question. Best ending to a series, not a film. Films have great endings, often. Series can sometimes end shit.
Okay, fair enough. My film would have been The Italian Job because it is a literal cliffhanger. My favourite ending to a TV series ever was the season finale of Angel. Because, okay, so we're at the final scene. We've lost some... The apocalypse is here. We've lost some of our main characters that we have been following for a while now.
We're emotionally attached.
We are, yes.
We're grieving already, but we can't yet. We have to stay strong because we're not quite done with the quest.
We've got Angel, Spike, Illyria, and Gunn left. Mm-hmm. Gunn is basically bleeding out and he hasn't got long. Illyria's good to go. Spike's obviously got nothing better on. And there's obviously demons everywhere. There's a dragon, which Angel's like, yeah, I've got dibs on the dragon. And they're coming on. And I think someone said, so what's the plan? And Angel was just like, well, let's go to work. Axe goes over the screen, you hear the weapons clash, the end, done.
I like endings where it's not just a big old rounding off of all the storylines that we've been following so closely. I find that really frustrating and slightly unsatisfying. I like a gripping, interesting, or thought-provoking kind of an ending. Sometimes it's fine to just end things how they end. Essentially what I'm saying is the embodiment of a good ending I have recently been gifted with Homeland. Homeland has finished now. There are going to be no more seasons, but it ended with such satisfaction. It was such a good fucking end to a series. Hex was a good ending.
Yes, it was, because they accepted the fact that they were fucked.
Yeah, Hex is one of those rare endings where
the bad guy wins.
Yeah, the bad guy won. You always go into something knowing that the good guys are going to win in the end. You know, they always pull through. But in Hex, they just fucking didn't. Yeah, so that's all of the questions I have. Do you have any questions?
Yes, I have had a question, actually. Ian, who contributed to my written review of The Predator, he's just finished watching the Purge film series, and he basically asks, why do the rich pray before they purge, but the regular folk don't? They just go out and kill. Is, in essence, what he's asked. Well, to answer your question, from my point of view, Ian...
We can only speculate.
Yeah.
That's an interesting question, actually.
So from what I can see, the rich buy or auction off their prey and kill them in their homes, so they don't have to go outside and potentially get killed by the regular purgers. Practically all of the rich people that participate in Purge are involved in a cult of some sort. The NFFA, the New Founding Fathers of America, have members within these cults and probably fund a great deal of it. Also, the NFFA include their actual name in their own prayers as well. Basically suck themselves off during these ritualistic chants before they kill the poor, basically, which was the whole reason the Purge thing started, for population control. There are cults that sacrifice themselves as prey for the purgers, and they usually do some chanting as they're about to get slaughtered. That happened in the TV series, which also probably has the NFFA's involvement as well. Like, they are kind of overseeing all of this fucking shit. So that's basically it in a nutshell, and I hope that kind of answered your question. It's basically for ritualistic reasons. It's tradition. General public just put on a mask, grab a bat, and just hit the fuck it button and go nuts for 12 hours. Which sounds like a lot more fun, because you have to wear a fucking tie when you're doing all these chants and praying. A tie on Purge night. That
seems excessive. Yeah, I'd say ritual definitely has something to do with it. humans by nature are ritualistic creatures. We like our habits, we have our rituals that coincide with those, and The Purge is sold as patriotic, isn't it?
Yes.
And patriotism has religious connotations that are prolific in that realm to kind of signify just how patriotic you are.
Yeah.
You know, God, religion, patriotism kind of run parallels often in the rhetoric and in the dogma and in the agenda that is pushed. I would say that it would be ritualistic and as a demonstration of their patriotism would be my assumption. But, you know, we're open to opinions. What do you think?
He does listen to this. So.
Oh, sweet.
Hello,
Ian,
Ian.
please do comment. What do you think? So I have some news about series. I've talked about this on the podcast before, and it is Rust Valley Restorers. Do you remember I told you about that dreadlocked guy who, whenever he would open his truck, cans would just fall out? And he owns this car restoration plot where he does up cars.
Yeah.
Kind of like Pimp My Ride, but without Exhibit. And instead you have like an aged, dreadlocked hippie who is just
glazed in DUIs.
So brilliant. I love him so much. Anyway, season 2 of Rust Valley Restorers. More content, yes. We left the last season on the edge of bankruptcy, and this year they're hoping to get more of a balance on how to run their business, basically. So he nearly ploughed himself into the ground by taking on everything. And then in the midst of this horrendous schedule that he'd given himself, he decided to then enter a derby
Oh, no.
with this fucking car that then they had to push through, and didn't realise that there was like a booklet of regulations that you have to make sure that your car is fucking safe to get ploughed into another one. So he siphoned off a bunch of money for this and then ended up on the edge of bankruptcy because it all went to shit. Because the car that they put all this money into didn't even make it off the fucking truck. It didn't even run. Anyway, not the point. The point is we've got a season 2, and I'm very fucking excited about this because this is a series that you can literally just put on and gawp at, and it's just a giggle, and you get to see some beautiful cars at the same time. Another thing that you can just enjoy for you, The Midnight Gospel. This is on Netflix as of right now, and you might have seen it in your recommended for you. You know when Netflix just starts up and it starts playing an advert?
When I opened up the browser, it would just take over my entire screen.
Did you ever...
I watched the trailer.
You did?
I wasn't actually as into it as I expected. I would basically have to run out of everything before I watched it.
Fair play, because there are a lot of good animated series to get to. However, I went one step further and I watched the first episode.
Yeah.
It was trippy as fuck. Would you like to know a synopsis? I'm going to give you one, whether you nod or not. Traversing trippy worlds inside his universe simulator.
Oh, it's written down.
Damn right. A space caster explores existential questions about life, death, and everything in between. This is offbeat. Okay?
Life, death, and everything in between. That'll be the commas and the ampersand then.
Damn right.
Oh.
It's rated 15. It is in the category of mind-bending and cerebral. You need to be feeling some kind of way to enjoy this series.
We'll watch it in the tent.
This is a series that you can watch from the comfort of your own garden tent. Yeah. I enjoy and I recommend. Very good. Because we're still waiting for that series from the Rick and Morty writer, Solar Opposites, which is what we were talking about in the last podcast. It's not that, as far as I'm aware. I think it is a separate thing.
Yeah, it did give me a Rick and Morty vibe. It made me remember that I'm still yet to watch the latest season of Rick and Morty. So I at least need to watch that.
That's been out a long while now.
You know I'm not into it as much as you and Scott.
True.
Who we still, of course, dearly miss.
Yes. Yeah, you might have noticed by now that Scott isn't here.
They probably noticed
Again.
before we did.
Shit. Yeah, to be fair.
When I was doing my research on who composed the Vikings soundtrack, I was completely unaware that there is a spin-off series in development.
For Vikings?
Yeah. Netflix has ordered 24 episodes, so I'm guessing there's going to be 2 seasons so far. This whole thing was announced before season 6. I think I need to burst the bubble and say it's not going to be following the characters that you know and love. It's set 100 years after the end of season 6, which would be roughly towards the end of the Viking era, actually. It's going to be following the lives of completely brand new characters, meant to be in production this year for a 2021 release, but obviously COVID-19's probably put a stop to that. It's not going to be written by Michael Hurst, who wrote the current season of Vikings, but he may contribute in some form or another. Catherine Winnock obviously isn't going to be reprising her role as Lagertha, but she is open to direct a few of the episodes.
That's interesting that it's on Netflix, because this has always been spearheaded by Amazon Prime.
But Amazon Prime is going to be too busy with the Lord of the Rings TV series. It's called Vikings Valhalla, I should have mentioned that. It's kind of a wise move for Netflix to pick this up.
I'm excited for a spin-off because I enjoy Vikings content in general. It's interesting that it's 100 years later. It'll be interesting to see how they hark back to legacy and bloodline and timeline from seasons past, which we know and love.
I have a feeling you're going to see descendants from familiar characters, let's say.
It'll be interesting to see how closely it links to the series and how closely it links to folklore and written history. I have one more bit of news, and this is regarding Tom Cruise. Now, I don't like to talk about Tom Cruise too often because I find him a bit of a caricature of himself. Anyway, this news, however, is noteworthy because he is about to film the first action movie in actual space. It's not related to Mission Impossible, which is what I thought initially. He's working with Elon Musk's SpaceX to transport Cruise to the International Space Station to perform 4 Daredevil stunts.
He gets injured a lot.
Yes, he is accident prone. I mean, he broke his ankle in 2017, and he nearly fell off a cliff filming different Mission Impossible films.
He's in his 50s, man.
How they've got the
insurance.
The insurance must be through the fucking roof for this film. But whatever it is, I'm excited for that. That is the first time that would have ever been done.
How much is this going to fucking cost?
Fuck knows. But after some of the news that's been kicking around about Elon Musk, he needs a win. This brings us beautifully to...
Dickhead of the Week.
That harmony was fucking beautiful.
Yeah, the acoustics in the tent really...
We apologise for the wind, but Mother Nature does her own thing, so...
Well, because obviously the entire planet's pretty much on a standstill with everything that's going on, it's kind of getting slim pickings for the Dickhead of the Week. So I decided to basically nominate Habib Nurmagomedov, who is partially to blame for the recent fate of Tony Ferguson.
It is a shame, because he deserved that fucking title shot.
This was the 5th time it's been cancelled. A lot of people, including myself, think Khabib ran from the fight. Tony Ferguson is completely out of the title picture for the time being. I just don't think it's fair. I don't think it's completely unreasonable for Khabib to be responsible for at least half of this.
Yeah, I mean, Ferguson obviously knew what he was getting into, but we're trying to justify it ourselves at least by putting him in Dickhead of the Week.
We're also huge Tony Ferguson fans.
I don't know if that came across.
I like Khabib.
I like Khabib. He follows me on Instagram.
That's
That is my
insane.
biggest achievement to life, which is kind of sad to admit.
Both do like Khabib, but I do think he's kind of dicked on Ferguson a bit here. Which is why I decided to unanimously put him in the shooting blood category of the Dickhead of the Week.
Repent, and thou shalt be saved.
Cool, right, well, I'm done.
There's no more bubbly, so there's no more reason
There's
to
a
be in this
smidge
tent.
of bubbly, but
Oh, I could spend a smidge more time
it is
in this
literally a
tent.
drop.
Glug glug, motherfuck.